So our mission for the Office of Undergraduate Research is we really want to promote student and faculty relationships. So our biggest thing is that you find a mentor that will help you do your research. That's really our biggest thing when you do research. It's really important that you have a mentor because there's so much great research going on at the U that these people really know what they're doing and they really want to help students get involved, and I think it's super important. So that's our mission. And yeah, next slide, Paul. Thanks. So this is the OUR team. I won't read through everybody. We have a bunch of undergraduate leaders who work for us. So if you ever have any questions, you can always sign up for an advising appointment with them if you'd rather just learn about like a student's perspective and what they've gone through rather than a staff member. And then you can sign up for an advising appointment with any of us as well. Yeah, next slide, Paul. You can skip past this. This is a video. So these are kind of the 5 things we do at our office. We have, like I talked about earlier, faculty and student collaborations, really big on that. We're doing education and outreach, stuff like this. I'm going to mention our undergraduate education series later, which is awesome. If you don't know where to get involved, it's a great place to start. We do grants and awards as well. Sorry, I'm struggling with where to put myself on the mic. We do grants and awards. So if you don't qualify for one of our programs, you can always apply for our grants and awards to get more funding. Like I mentioned earlier, we do research advising, which is awesome. If you just don't know where to get started, sign up for a research advising appointment. We'll point you in the right direction, show you what you need to know. And then if you do research, we do a ton of recognition, whether that be an award, scholarship, symposium, presentation on Capitol Hill, a ton of different stuff like that. So yeah. Next slide. Why undergraduate research matters. So we have data that shows us that 96% of students who do undergraduate research end up graduating. And I think 75% of those students graduate within 4 years. So if you want to graduate within 4 years, doing research is a great place to start because you get connected with a mentor and it seems like it's just like one more thing on your plate, but really you have that mentor there to guide you through the process and help you along, whether that be in school or your research. When you apply for grad school after college or you want to apply for a job, just putting this on your resume is a huge resume booster. People see you did research, they know you're dedicated, and they know you're a good student. So it also can get you a recommendation from your mentor, which hopefully you have a good relationship with. And it'll just develop your skills. You'll just become hopefully a better researcher, a better student, and all that. So yeah, next slide. Next slide too. So let's tell you a little bit about our funding opportunities. This is our homepage. So if you go onto our website, this is what you'll see. And if all you're curious about is the funding, you can just click right there and it'll take you there. We also have our research database all the way on the right. That's all the research opportunities that we currently have for undergraduate students to get involved in right away. So if you don't want to start your own research project, you just want to hop on with a faculty who's already doing a project, that's a great place to start. If you don't have a mentor yet, you don't have somebody you're super connected with, we have Find a Mentor and then Getting Started as well. So our website's super comprehensive. If you ever want to go on there and look through it, it's really easy to navigate and you can find a bunch of resources on there. So next slide. So who here is in their first 60 credits at the U? Most of you guys, just a couple of you. So this is a program we have. It gets a $500 scholarship. And it's pretty easy to get started once you apply. We just ask that you attend a research tour, which I'll talk about later. It's a great way to just kind of get involved with research and see what's kind of going on. And then attend some of our undergraduate education series. So it's basically just a $500 scholarship for you to get started and learn about all the research that's going on throughout campus. Next slide. Research tours, as I just mentioned, we've had 3 this week. We do research tours, whether that's, we went in a theater the other day, and then yesterday we went to a paleomagnetic lab. So the research tours, they span from all different things, whether that's super sciencey or something as artistic as theater. We like when students get involved in these, you get to go through a lab, ask a researcher kind of what they're doing, what they're up to, and then we have staff on the tour as well. If you just have questions about undergraduate research in general, attend a research tour, ask all sorts of questions there. Next slide. So this is our main program that most of our students are in. It's called UROP. And this is, once you're in a research position, like say you go onto our database, find a research position you're interested in, you start getting along with the professor, then you can start applying for the undergraduate research opportunity program. Or if you want to create your own project, you can do that too. We just ask that you find a faculty mentor before you apply for this. It's $1,200 for a semester. It's a one-time stipend, so it's not going to be hourly pay or anything like that, but it's about 5 to 10 hours a week. Students can end up getting, depending on how much you work, it's about $10 to $15 an hour. So not a ton of money, not super most high-paying job, but it'll really get your skills going. It'll connect you with a mentor, and it's just some extra money for whether that's paying for school, paying for books, paying for your groceries. It's an easy way to get involved, and that's kind of the most popular out of any of these. So yeah, next slide. And then we have Spur, which the deadline's coming up. So this would be a program that you don't create your own project. So if you're interested in creating your own project, this probably isn't for you. We ask that faculty apply before. So we're kind of going through faculty applications right now. And then after that, we put all the projects up, and then you guys can apply for individual projects and rank them. And then we try to match you up with one of your preferred options. And this is a lot more money. It's a lot more intensive because it's over the summer. So it's basically a full-time job. We suggest that most students don't have another job when they do this because it's very work intensive, but this is a $5,000 scholarship, and will, if you want to live on campus, there's free housing over the summer. So it's a good program for students who are looking to live here over the summer. You got to live here over the summer if you want in-state tuition. So getting that started is a good idea. And yeah, so November 1st, these applications will open once we go through all the faculty and find what projects we're going to do. So yeah, next slide. And then we also have travel and small grants. So if you're not in Europe, you're not in Spur, and you still want to get funded for your research, we can fund you up to $500 for a travel or small grant. So say you want to go present your research at a conference and you can't get there because of travel expenses, we'll provide that. Or you guys want to do a survey, you're doing research and you want to do a survey and give out gift cards as incentive, say, hey, take our survey, get a $20 gift card. We can provide up to $500 for stuff like that. So that's not necessarily a research opportunity, but that's money we can give you if you're already doing a research opportunity. And next slide. This is also after you've done research. So if you do any research on something with social change and you write an essay, 5 to 20 pages, we suggest going a little more than 5 pages, doing a little more than the bare minimum. And then this is a $1,500 prize that would just, again, go to whatever you want. It doesn't have to go to school, whether that's groceries or whatever. This would be something you do after you get involved with research as well. Next slide. So education and research sharing, like I talked about earlier, we have a ton of opportunities for you guys to present your research after you do it. Next slide. So this is the undergraduate education series I talked about earlier. If you don't know where to get started, you're just interested in learning more, we have stuff from, I think the science of funny is coming up. And we also have stuff like how to create a poster presentation or how to apply for Europe. So these are all on demand. You don't have to attend them directly they're all on Zoom, but you don't have to attend them to learn about them. You go onto our website, look through this education series. Even if it's just for a class and you need help making a poster presentation because you did a research project in class, this is a great way to get some tips and just learn more about the research process. So yeah, next slide. Our symposium, we do fall, we do a virtual symposium, spring, both. Summer, we do poster presentation. So yeah, these are just all sorts of opportunities for you guys to present your research. A lot of faculty come, a lot of students come. It's a great way to connect with other students and just see what type of research is going on campus. And if you haven't done research yet and you want to see what other students are doing, this is another great place to attend just to see what other undergraduate students are up to. Next slide, please. This is our research on Capitol Hill. Our deadline for this is actually coming up. If you have done research already, this is where you can go to Utah State Capitol and present to the legislature. It's really cool to connect with the Senate and the House members of Utah, and they are always really curious to see what we're up to at the university. They like seeing what you guys are up to. So if you do research, this is a great opportunity to connect with a wide audience of people. And also Utah State has presentations there, and we try to keep them separate because ours are always a lot better. But they'll be presenting there as well. So it's just a great opportunity to connect with people from across the state. Next slide. This is our undergraduate research journal. If you're looking to become published after you do research, we do one of these every year. And It's super diverse, kind of like the research tours I was mentioning earlier. We try to get all sorts of majors and different interests in there, whether that be theater. We had dance in our research on dance in our range journal last year. This is a great opportunity to get published and get your research out there for other undergraduates to see. Next slide. This is the undergraduate research scholar designation. If you're looking to get something right on your transcript, it's kind of say you send your transcript to grad school, this will be on your transcript right at the beginning and say, hey, this person did research, they're an undergraduate scholar, similar to kind of an honor student, if that was on your transcript. It's a great way to bolster your resume and application when you're applying for jobs or resumes. So we have, if you guys are just curious, you want to talk to students, you want to talk to me more, just one-on-one, we have Funding Friday every Friday, which is from 8:30 to 11 on Zoom and in our office, where there will be 2 undergraduate research leaders, as well as myself or another staff member. And this is your time. We're there the whole time. So you guys can just drop in, come ask your questions, say you're trying to get started and you don't know what to do on your application, you don't know what to write on this question, drop into Funding Friday. We'll help you out. It's just essentially another time for you guys to get advising if you need it. IRB Lab, if you're doing research on human subjects, the Institutional Review Board will have to review your project before you do it. And we have a student, this is every other week. We have a student in there as well as myself. That's also on Fridays, right after Funding Friday. If you guys have questions about that, if you need help with the process, we're going to be there for you. And then you can also schedule advising appointments at any time. My schedule, I pretty much have open advising appointments from 9 to 4 every day. So if you want to sign up for an advising appointment with me and you just want some help getting pointed in the right direction, a little one-on-one time, or you just want to talk, I'm always willing to just talk with anyone who wants to have a chat, But yeah, sign up for an advising appointment. We have our leaders you can sign up for advising appointments with if you want a student's perspective, as well as myself and all of our other staff. So if you guys want an advising appointment, that's a great way to go. A lot of students just come into us with advising appointments like, hey, I want to get involved in research, but I have no idea where to get started. That's totally fine. Come get an advising appointment and we'll help you get the ball rolling. Next slide, please. This is our opportunity database. I mentioned this earlier. This is where all of our current research opportunities are. We're posting new ones a couple times a week. Anytime a professor has a research opportunity, this is where we'll post it. So today, I think we posted a new one yesterday. So they're always being updated. So if you guys are just curious, you don't see a project that interests you right now, check back in a week, there'll probably be another project up there. So this is kind of this will be your guys' go-to place to find a project that you just want to hop on. If you don't want to start your own research project, find a mentor and go through that process and you just kind of want to dive right in. A lot of these are paid opportunities as well. So they're not all, get in going on this, then apply for Europe, then wait for next semester for funding. No, you can literally go on here. There will be a learn more button on every one of them. Click it. Find the professor's email, shoot them a quick email, and usually most of the time they'll respond to you within either that day or a couple of days because they're really eager to get students involved. So this is kind of your go-to place to find research opportunities that are currently available. Next slide, please. Connecting with faculty mentors. Say you want to get your own project and you don't have a professor you like, or you just don't want to go outside of your major for a professor, so you don't have a professor, you can go on here, and these are all of our mentors who have done mentoring before and are willing to do it again. And so you shoot one of these people an email, even if you just want to connect and learn about what they're doing. This is a great way to get involved on campus and just connect with professors either outside of your major or within your major that are willing to help get your research going. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, Paul. We have email templates on there. So if you don't know what to say to a professor, we have a huge email template that you can basically copy and paste. Don't leave it blank. Don't put the underline, put your name in there. And you can send it off to a professor and they'll get back to you. And if they don't get back to you, contact us and we'll help you get connected. Next slide, Paul. Next slide again. The OUR website, like I said, the OUR website is super easy to navigate. So if you ever are still curious about research and you want to learn more, just head onto our website. You can click Getting Started. It should just be our.utah.edu, just like it is up there. Press getting started, and there will be a list of like 5 resources you can get started, whether that's a research tour, the undergraduate education series, research advising. We have all those resources right there under getting started. Next slide. And then, yeah, just stay in touch with us. If you guys ever, I just threw so much information at you guys, you probably don't remember. I said a lot of numbers. You can always contact our office. Our email is right there. That'll get sent. If you email our office, it'll get sent to all of our staff members. My email is on the bottom. My name is Bradley. For those of you who walked in late, I'm the outreach coordinator for OUR. If you ever want to get in touch with me, you have more questions, that's my email. Scan the QR code, follow our Instagram. We post a lot on Instagram because we always have updates coming. Any research opportunity that's new, I post on the Instagram. So if there's a new research opportunity, there's just a new one I posted the other day on the zebrafish lab. So like if you ever want to know about our research opportunities, go onto our Instagram. It's all the gray posts, they'll say research opportunity on them. That's a good place to start too. But yeah, so any questions?
How does this program relate to, or is it at all related to the SRI program?
They're completely separate. So a lot of students will come to us after they are through the SRI program if they want to continue their research and keep getting funded. Yeah. So the faculty apply first, and the faculty it's about 25 to 30 projects, and we'll take on all those projects, and then we put the applications out to students, and then they can apply from there. You apply for the SPUR program, and then you'll list your top 3 or 4 projects, and we'll try to get you connected with one of them. Yeah. Anyone else?
About the research scholar designation.
Yeah, so that can be class credit, but that unfortunately won't be figured out through us. It'll be figured out through the registrar office. So if you do research, you can contact the registrar office and get class credit that way. My boss loves to tell me we have a lot of money and we want to give it to you guys. So if you want a part-time job, you're just looking for a little extra money and you are interested in research, get in contact with us and we'll get you set up.
Thank you so much. Very fortunate that we have a couple of really outstanding transfer students who are in the Crimson Transfer Honor Society, who have done undergraduate research, who have presented. And so I always feel like it's helpful to hear from someone who's done it from a similar background. So take it away if you want to just introduce yourself, some of the research you've done, any presentations, and then would you recommend it? What advice do you have? So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So my name's Mia. I'm a transfer student from Salt Lake Community College. I'm a senior right now, and I'm a biology major. So right now I'm studying in the emergency department of medicine. We have an undergraduate research program where every semester we have more students come in, and every semester gets a little bit bigger too, which is super exciting. The main project that I'm working on is researching naloxone in our community, so perceptions of Narcan or naloxone, as well as the community need. And so the goals for the project is to give out naloxone for free in our emergency department. Naloxone is an opioid overdose reversal drug, in case you don't know. So I've had the opportunity to present posters, which has been super fun. And right now I'm writing a paper for the Range Journal, so something that you spoke about. And yeah, I think research seemed really daunting at first. And then once you actually get involved in it, I wouldn't say simple, but it's really fun. That's what I'll say. It's really fun. And any questions?
You mentioned that you presented.
Oh yeah, it was the undergraduate research symposium by the Office of Undergraduate Research. So that's where I presented. And then before I transferred, I also presented at a symposium for NASA, which I'm a pre-med student. So NASA in medicine, to me, it didn't really seem like it clicked, but I was researching the gut microbiome of astronauts and how that might affect bone density. So also super fun. Yes.
How did you get involved in research? Like, professor, they tested you?
That's a great question. So I actually found out about this opportunity through the pre-professional advising office. They have a newsletter every week, just like the Office of Undergraduate Research does. And they emailed out the opportunity, and I just applied online and then interviewed, and I've been in the program for 4 semesters now. So actually the whole time I've been at the U, I've been in the program.
How much time do you dedicate?
It's 4 hours a week. And then during holidays, you can come in if you want or you don't have to. A lot of people like to do extra hours because you count as volunteer hours. And so it's good for pre-med people. And then if you're interested in research, you can spend your time writing research articles or doing background research. So any other questions? Yeah. So we schedule it every semester. You pick a 4-hour block that you'll do the same time every week. And then they have 4-hour blocks starting at 8 a.m. all the way until midnight. And so most of us have 1 4-hour block you can complete, but it's super flexible and yeah. And I guess I didn't mention when I'm actually researching what I do. So I go around the emergency department and I take surveys for the patients. And that way we're interacting with only the emergency department patients at the U. So it's like the Salt Lake community, and we're seeing really what need for naloxone they have specifically. What was the most challenging part of like the process of getting? I think just getting started is really difficult. It feels hard to pick out which path or what kind of research you want to do, and then it's daunting to reach out to professors if you're doing research that way. But once you get started, it kind of like opens up more and more opportunities and gets, yeah, it gets a lot easier as you go. Yeah. Yeah. What was it again? It's through, like, which project am I working on? Yeah. I'm researching naloxone, so the perceptions of Narcan and naloxone in the community, and also the need for people in the emergency department at the U hospital. No, so it's an undergraduate research program through the School of Medicine. Yeah. But every semester we have more undergrad students join, so.
Thank you so much, Mia. That's really awesome research you're doing. I'm excited to hear more. Yes. And then next we have Josie, who is our Crimson Transfer Honor Society president, about her research, which is in a different major.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Josie. I am an honors psych major, and so also a senior. I do research under Dr. Asnani in the psychology department, and the lab does a bunch of different things. We're a huge community-based lab, and so we do trainings for clinicians in St. Lucia and the Caribbean islands, and then we also do a bunch of stuff here on campus. I coordinate a study on distress tolerance and different skills for that. And then I'm also doing an honors thesis on a different thing, looking at different trauma exposure and OCD correlations. So yeah, that's what I do. I got involved. Actually, I started in another lab. I cold emailed professors and got a research position in a different lab looking at well-being for campers and counselors in the summer camp setting. Worked with that professor for about a semester and then transferred to Dr. Asnani's lab. Yeah, and I found her through actually one of my psychology professors put me in touch with her, which was really helpful. Interviewed a couple times and then started with that. So this is my including the summer. This is my 3rd semester with her. Yeah, but it's been really fun. I enjoy it. Like Mia said, the hardest part is starting. Yeah, but that was my experience. Yeah. Any questions? I know a lot were already asked and answered, so. Oh, a lot of stuff. I went into it knowing nothing about the research process, just knowing that I wanted to go to grad school and that I would need that experience. And so I've learned a lot about all the ins and outs, whether it's like the statistics side of it or working with participants. Also, a lot of things involved with like coordinating studies and like coordinating participants and the databases used, that kind of thing. But overall, I feel like it was a really valuable experience, and I can't imagine my time here without doing that. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I found it intimidating to reach out to professors and kind of like say why you should choose me to be an RA. And so, I found it challenging because at the time I was looking at professors. One, I didn't know about this website. So that's a really good resource, I feel. But also a lot of professors were not taking undergrad RAs at that time. The positions were just full. So I started in a lab that I wasn't as interested in and was able, but it was a really great experience because that experience kind of showed, okay, I do enjoy this and let me now apply for a different lab. Yeah, so the second time around, finding a mentor was a lot easier because the introduction was very, very helpful. Yeah. Any other questions? Would I recommend research? Yes, I would absolutely recommend doing research. I think it's super valuable, if for nothing else, for the experience and knowing if it's for you or if it's not for you. Both of those are helpful. Yeah, yeah.
Has it helped you decide if you want to study in grad school?
Yes. Yes, I think research experience overall is really helpful because you get the baseline skills, even if you're not researching something that you want to do in grad school. For me, my honors thesis is more in line with what I want to do in grad school, which is looking at trauma exposure, rather than my study right now, looking at distress tolerance skills. And so both are really good experiences, but it definitely has helped narrow down my focus. Yeah, go for it. I think in the beginning it's start because skills are transferable as long as it's like you're learning transferable skills. I think that's really valuable. I think it's really hard to research something that you're not passionate about because it's a large commitment. So I think in the beginning it's just start, and then from there I think you get a better idea of what you want, and then you can work through that. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you. Let me know if you have any other questions. Paul?
And then we're very fortunate. I'm amazed that we could get everyone at the same time. So Dr. Christie Toth, who is in the Department of Writing and Rhetoric, is on the video. And she was just going to give some tips for students from a faculty perspective. And the really cool thing about Dr. Toth, in addition to being like an amazing professor, I worked with her for a super long time. A lot of her research is with transfer students. So this is a faculty member who really cares about transfer students. So if you want to take it away, Christie.
Great, thanks. Can you all in the room hear me okay? All right, great. I'm so sorry that I'm not there in person. Paul asked me like months ago to do this, and I said, yes, I love this event. I can't wait. And then I totally like ended up scheduling a family trip in the same week. So I'm in San Diego. If any of you are transfer students from California, hello, I'm in California, and but I really regret that I'm not there in person with you today. I hope I'll get to meet many of you in person some other time if I haven't met you already. So please feel free to look me up and drop me a line. if we didn't get a chance to connect today and haven't met in the past. But yeah, so I'm Christie. Feel free to call me Christie if we run into each other or if you touch base with me. I'm in the Department of Writing and Rhetoric Studies. This is my 11th year now, which is kind of hard to believe. I've known Paul pretty much this whole time. And just for those of you that don't know, the Writing and Rhetoric Studies is part of the College of Humanities. And so I love that we're getting a spread of a lot of different departments and different kinds of research across these different experiences as well, which is awesome. And as I was listening to y'all talk, I was thinking, I did an undergraduate research opportunity, a program that was basically like Spur. When I was an undergraduate, like over 20 years ago now. It was an archaeology undergraduate research project, and I basically spent the summer like schlepping around an island in Maine with this was before like there were cell phones that had GPS in them, and so I had this like backpack with all these antenna, and I was just like, my job was to walk in straight lines back and forth across this island, doing transects as part of this archaeology surveying. I did not become an archaeologist. Right. But I really had a kind of transformative experience in terms of learning that I loved research. I really enjoyed it. And I didn't want to be an archaeologist. I learned to do important things. So to the point that folks were saying, there's important things that you get from these experiences that aren't necessarily like, aha, this thing is it, and I will do exactly this for the rest of my life. It's experiences that help you figure out both what you really love and enjoy, and also help you figure out what isn't quite the thing. But is still an important part of your journey. So like Paul said, I work really closely with transfer students. I'm kind of, I guess, a meta guest because most of my research as a faculty member relates to transfer students' writing experiences in one way or another, and community college students and their experiences with writing, and community college faculty that teach writing. And so when I first got to the University of Utah almost, a decade ago, one of the first big projects I did here was working with a team of undergraduate researchers who were all Salt Lake Community College transfer students, interviewing a bunch of other transfer students across a bunch of different disciplines about their experiences with reading and writing as they were transferring across institutions, to figure out how we at the University of Utah could better support students who were making those transitions. And it was it was honestly much of what I've done over the last decade as a teacher in terms of developing programs. The book that we ultimately wrote about that work came out of that collaborative work that I was doing with those co-researchers who were all undergraduate researchers. It really shaped much of what I did in my brain with my time over the last decade, but it was also really transformative for me as a person in terms of what I think about why I'm even in academia, what I'm doing as a teacher. And it's really, to me, if any of you are familiar with the line from disability activists, nothing about us without us, right? It's kind of that idea that like nothing about transfer students without transfer students, right? Like we shouldn't be building programs, designing classes, figuring out support without transfer students there as researchers, figuring that out with us. And when I say us, in that sense, I mean those of us that are the teachers and the staff that build these programs. So I think like it's not just, hey, let's do undergrads a favor and let them do research with us. It's like we can't do good research that really does, that changes the systems the way they need to be changed unless we're doing that with undergraduate researchers, at least for the kind of work that I do. But that, so that led us to develop, a couple of different transfer bridge programs and courses that are there to support transfer student writers. Maybe some of you have heard me yammer about some of that in other contexts. But it also led me to do a number of projects since that have really been doing things like looking at some of the big national community college reform policies that have come down, working with transfer student co-researchers and co-authors to kind of get more student perspectives on how those reforms have affected student experiences and have students help speak back and evaluate some of those reforms that have been, again, undertaken in their name without ever actually having them as co-researchers of those big changes that millions of dollars have been spent in big policy shifts. And this semester, I'm actually working on 2 different projects that involve teams of Salt Lake Community College transfer students as my co-researchers. One is I've got a team of already transferred students working with me to interview current Salt Lake Community College students about what they think makes someone well prepared to teach them reading and writing. And we're doing those interviews in order to develop graduate programs that better for people that want to become community college writing teachers, to inform what those graduate programs should look like, because nobody's ever actually asked community college students what they think would make someone a good teacher for them in those kinds of contexts. So really trying to think about graduate education being shaped by undergraduate research in that way. And the other project, which has really been a lot of fun, is using what some people call speculative research methods, where basically we're writing sci-fi. We're writing speculative fiction about imagining possible futures of education research. We're writing our own sci-fi, and then we're doing workshops with lots of different folks in lots of different contexts, writing microfiction, like little short speculative fiction pieces, to have many people in many different contexts writing what they think would be more just futures for literacy education. And we're hoping to collect these and publish them in an anthology, and have those imaginings of better futures inform our work. So I don't know, so maybe some of you in the sciences are like, all right, writing lady, this sounds like some humanities research. But the point being that like undergraduate research can look like a lot of different things in a lot of different fields. I think sometimes people hear research and they imagine like beakers and labs and Bunsen burners, or like psych experiments, and it can definitely be those kinds of things. But there's a lot of different kinds of work that falls under that broad banner of research and creative works that faculty are working on. And in many cases, it's projects that are really intended. I mean, I think both the projects that you heard about from students are case in point. Projects that are not just abstractions. They're really about like trying to make positive change in the world. It's about preventing overdoses, and working on mental health and trauma issues, about trying to improve educational systems. And I think students absolutely can and should be part of that work. The work is better if undergraduates are part of that work. So in terms of tips, I mean, the one thing I would suggest, it's really wonderful that OUR has the database of opportunities to search, and has ways that you can reach out to faculty who have a track record and history of supporting undergraduates. So it's great. Please use those resources, and knowing that there's the spur opportunities. But I think it's also important to know that there are also opportunities out there that probably don't make it into those databases, because sometimes they're circulating within departments. Right. I know that often in our department, like when I have projects that I'm doing, I'm often like reaching out to the students that are in our transfer programs in our department, students that I already know through our networks who I think might be interested. So I think it's, in addition to looking at the public places where opportunities are posted, it's really great to be talking to professors that you have classes with that you really like, to professors who put themselves out there at different kinds of events, saying they want to work with students, and connecting with them. Because I know I reach out all the time to students that I've had opportunities to meet, whether in my classes or beyond, when I've got an opportunity that something I'm doing, or something that a colleague of mine in my department is doing that I think might interest them. That's how I know that they're interested, because I've talked to those students and I have some sense of what they're into. And I know that's super scary, and I know that's also really unfair in some ways, that some of these opportunities rely on those like soft networks, because not everybody can make it to the events. Not everybody's brain works in a way that makes it like easy to make those connections. Not everybody like looks at the people who are professors and sees somebody that looks like who they grew up with. So with the full recognition that there's things about that are not great or fair or just or easy for everybody, I would really encourage you as best you can to take some of those risks and make some of those connections. If you try to connect with a faculty member and it's like weird and awkward, like I promise you, it's probably us. Like, most people in academia, it's not our social skills that got us where we are, so like like honestly, I like, please don't let that turn you off, or prevent you from trying. And if you are reaching out to somebody and trying to find out about opportunities, and somebody like says no or doesn't have something for you, please also don't take that personally, because like part of the life cycle of research projects is there's times when you're looking for people to be involved in research, and there's times where projects are at a stage where you're writing stuff up, and that's not the time in the project when you can bring new people on. So there's an aspect of timing to it, that sometimes people are just not at a stage in projects where they're able to take on new folks. And that's really, that has nothing to do with like you and whether you're cool or whether you did it right. It's really just about like, we're all humans with like whatever capacity for projects that we have. And so please don't feel like you did something wrong in those cases. But again, you talking to us and us knowing that you're interested helps us then connect you with other people who might have new projects they're starting and new opportunities coming up. That's why it's great to know people. And I would also say too, that just, I know I almost always work with students in teams. I'm rarely working with just single undergraduates, in part because in my experience, students have a better time when they're getting to work with other students and not just me. So it's also great to be talking to your peers and talking to other people about labs they might be working in or projects they might be working on. Y'all, at least in my groups, are not in competition with each other. I'm usually like, if somebody says, hey, I've got a friend or somebody in my class who's heard about this and said they're really interested, is there a role for them? I'll often try to like find a way to get that person on the team too. And I try to run my stuff really flexibly. So like if somebody shows up mid-semester, we try to find a way to bring them in. You know, if they only have a couple hours a week, we try to find a way they can be involved, even if they can't commit, 15 hours a week or something like that. So there are some kinds of positions that have really like specific requirements and time commitments, but not all the ways to get involved necessarily have to be that way. So it's worth asking around and talking. And I'm always happy to chat with any of y'all. If anybody's even remotely interested in writing, please come talk to me too. As I like to tell students all the time, writing is going to be involved in anything that you're doing in any area of study in higher ed. So, in our department, we're often looking at writing in the sciences. We're looking at writing in all the disciplines, writing in the law, writing in the healthcare professions. So pretty much everything when we do in our department is going to connect with research in all the wide range of fields that y'all might be interested in. And Paul, if there's anything that else you wanted me to talk about that I missed, let me know and I'm happy to speak to it.
No, I think this is great. Is there any questions for Christie? This is a great opportunity. This is a faculty member who wants to talk to you. Do you want to say kind of maybe what it's like when students reach out to you, or like some examples of students getting started working with you for undergraduate research?
Yeah, I mean, I can get one of the I always think of like Kelly Corbray, Paul, because I like years ago, it was like this event, right? It was like this transfer.
Yes, I made her come to this.
Yeah, there was like a version of this workshop, like seriously, like almost a decade ago, like 9 years ago. And I was there in person that time talking about that project with transfer students that we had just got. We were like a year into it or something. And a student that Paul knew came up and came to the session because Paul told her to, and came and talked to me. And I was like, yeah, you want to come hang out and we'll like, see if you're interested. And she ended up working with me for years. She got one of those full-time summer spur positions through OUR. And then, we turned that into a year out position for a couple of years. She was really involved in building a transfer project. Because she was then involved in it, I was able to help her get scholarship funding for several semesters to help her finish. I mean, she ended up getting, when we got into the pandemic years, she was a student who was really struggling to finish up graduating because of the way that disrupted work and everything else. But because we had that relationship, I was like, I guess that's one thing I would say, right? Like these are relationships. It's a relationship where you're learning about research and we're working together and collaborating. But for me, at least, that's also now I know you. If you are struggling in some way, whether it's with money or something with family or something going on in another class, like I consider it part of my responsibility to you to do everything I can to get you connected with the resources that help you get what you want from this place. And so I'm often working to help students get scholarship funding, particularly scholarships that aren't like widely advertised and competitive, but things that are like emergency funding, things that are completion funding for people that are getting close to getting done, but aren't sure they're going to be able to stick around. I can write really good letters of recommendation for the students who've worked with me on undergraduate research because I know them very well and have lots of very specific things I can say about, who they are and what they care about and what they're committed to and what their strengths are and their goals. We can have many extended conversations over time about what they're interested in, and I can do my best to connect them with other people and help them figure out paths towards what they want to do. So it's more than just the learning research. It's really, in some ways, these like extended mentoring relationships with a lot of support and resources that potentially come with that. Looks like Gabrielle has did you start as wanting to be a paleontologist and change your mind to the research? I started out wanting to be an anthropologist, and archaeology was an opportunity I had to do undergraduate research. And honestly, this was like 20 years ago. It was more that anthropology, I got like wigged out by a lot of the kind of colonial baggage that came with anthropology, and it had kind of talked me out of itself by the time I was through most of my anthropology degree. No offense to any of you that are in anthropology now. Anthropology was in very much a crisis 20 years ago about its own colonial history, and it talked me out of it.
Any other questions for Christie? And I'll just say I've worked with Christie for a very long time. And then the question, I don't know if you want to answer, Bradley, is he's nodding his head very vigorously. Undergraduate research is open to anyone, no matter the major. So yes, it's for everyone. And hopefully we had, in addition to Bradley, Mia and Josie and Christie, really showing a wide variety of research. Hopefully that was one of my goals for this, is to see that it's a lot of things. It's not just one thing.